develop a system that we can produce this in millions. The glass will cost more than the water inside it. We're not talking mass production of huge structures. We're talking what we call cottage industry. That's all it is. 2 milliliters of pure water will destroy more or less any germ. We don't talk. We have health certification for it. We never disclosed. We are authorized to use our material. A strange enough certification by European Community. I discussed yesterday in the meeting, just before Alex leaves, to find as fast as we can a faster way. You got a cancer, you got HIV. This is the answer. Come to Ghana. It'll be done by governments. It'll be done by leading scientists and doctors. And the strange thing is, now all the Ghanaians and most of Africa know it exists. Does FDA exist? Can FDA tell Africans you cannot use it because we haven't certified it? Because we haven't paid our paymasters? Now you see the change. Now you see how simple it's become. And now why you, Kerry, and others have to teach. Because by knowledge, we put aside the fear. This is what we got to do. By knowledge, understanding it, like is understood in the conference, that there is no fear. So those who are scaremongering are doing their job. Interesting enough, I told the officials, can you go on the website and look at people's, what they write about us? These are all the pedophiles. They lost their master. They said, we know, we've seen them. We're watching. I asked the security guy, he said, let them make their way in Africa. Those of you who are in a free movement and they want freedom in different names and trying to be the others is wrong. Look into the Keshe Foundation Security Services. You have created so much underground connections for the people who want to be free. Maybe it's time for you to work through the real freedom technology and bring your forces together to work with the foundation ethos. Because we have the technology, we can deliver peace. We'll start seeing very soon a lot of radical groups will come around foundation because they see through the foundation they can achieve their goals of freedom, this and that. But the knowledge of the foundation and the technology of it will melt them in. But the knowledge they bring allows us to set up the whole police force. Those of you who work on the fringe organizations, soon you'll be part of the foundation. And the fringes become totality in one group of people who care about humanity, and that caring will do a lot. We are not gathering radical groups. We are gathering people who understand how they can use the technology to bring peace. So now you see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go again for you to understand. Value your life. Get on a plane. Africa is waiting for you. The mother stands. Gave life to humanity. Now it comes to protect his children. You got AIDS. You've been taking millions of tablets and thousands of dollars every year to keep alive. Liquid of life is in these bottles for you. Test it. You have fear of death through cancer and injections and chemotherapy and radiography and the rest of it, and radiation therapy. Ghana is waiting. You value your life, we give it to you. And I'll give you one thing. Those who come will not be disappointed, because I don't do it. I've just taught the knowledge. The scientists will do it for you. And this is the beauty of what you'll see. The knowledge is there for no man to suffer. And a lot of people have suffered to get this bottle here. The beauty with this one is that when we make it in a liquid and we put it on the legs and you wash yourself with it, it has a structure that the malaria parasite cannot live in. Water the rivers, water the house. You have no malaria to be worried about. Or do we put a shower of this at the end of the steps of aircraft when you land from Europe to give you a good wash? Then you're guaranteed beautiful time. This is where the change has come. And you brought it. We've done the same thing with water contamination. Now we are involved in 2 major water contaminations in Europe. The Keshe Foundation has set up a water decontamination division in Italy. And it'll grow very rapidly. Because now we have proven in the first instance immediately 90% reduction is one of the most cancerous agents. Now the change will come. The reason the conference was so successful in Ghana was because the paper submitted was done by Ghana Atomic. When you look at the papers on the top, it's Ghana Atomic or Ghana Water Commission. And their scientists submitted it. And so the trust was there. As the head of Ghana Atomic said in the press, we have tested it, we have evaluated it, they have followed it for a year, they knew it works. Now is the time of implementation. Let us look what exactly we do with this material, because a lot of fear comes out of, in fact, not understanding. And the reality is how we have to understand the totality that we can explain. It's nice to give these talks and these conferences and these lectures, but it's the explanation which makes the difference. And this is important. Dr. Gota, in his own beautiful way, presented the paper yesterday, and it brought us a lot of joy in his presentation because he's a storyteller. And after his presentation, a lot of scientist had a problem. He says, we can't understand the connection. Can you explain a little bit? And when he was explaining in a very simple way, they said, now it makes sense. So don't try to just show things to be done. Try to explain the knowledge behind it. How this liquid you see works with the cancer. This is a cancer tumor. Some tumors are as this big and some are even bigger. You understand the tumor has become a tumor because it's got amino acid. It's made of amino acid plus something else. Could be any of these. If you look in this atomic mass structure, gravitational magnetic field forces, you'll find out it is about 100. Most of the cancers have 100 to 140 atomic mass. Sometimes the more killing ones, they come around about 70. Remember the law of plasma. I don't know why I get this. Okay. You have a bigger by mass 100. You have a little by mass lighter. The stronger needs to feed the weaker, or the weaker to strong, the heavier, to create a balance. In this process is the big, which loses energy, gravitational plasmatic field, to the weaker, to bring it up. When you inject the material inside, you actually create a seed of a continuous need to feed. The whole tumor collapses on its own. How simple it is. When we inject these materials into the bloodstream, it's the same. But because of the technology and the way we inject it, it goes throughout the lymph, throughout the blood vessels, throughout the heart, the lung, the liver, the brain. And because it covers such a huge ratio of the conversion of the total mass of the body of the man, RNA accepts it with a flick of a finger. Is the mass population which brings the change, and it gets accepted. Because the body understands that what had is not there, now it's not to be, and it goes back to its ordinary condition. It's the technique of the application which brings the totality. Then we follow it with the processes to dispose of it. What is the strangest thing is the predator which is the cancer, becomes the food for the body of the man. This is actually the energy which body has already transformed from the matter state to cancer state to the solid state of the cancer as a tumor. So once the reprocessing starts, it's already digested energy. This is the beauty of it. You don't lose it. You redistribute in a way. You go into the grain depot and you distribute what has been stored in the grain depot for the rest. That's why so rapidly the body can accept it, because it's already been digested. It's a digested food. It's just now it's time to release it. And as the tumor collapses because of what we put inside it, the energy which is collapses gets consumed by the rest of the body. Some of you who have tested with the GANs, and we told you not to do, but some of you who tested with the liquid GANs and we encourage you to do, you all have seen something very strange. And in the report, we've seen it in the observation through the mouse. We've seen it. The first 2 or 3 days, you bleed. It looks like your bleeding goes reddish or it goes darkish. These are the cells which the body does not need, but it comes in such a vast amount for the cleaning up that ends up with this. Don't have the fear. When you come by using this liquids, you see after a time fatigue, after a week or 2, exhaustion. As I always said in the medical teaching, this is a good news, because now it means the body is using energy to repair and build the cells which is lost because of the diseases or viruses or the cancer which you cleaned up and you saw it as a blood or a dark discharge. Those cells have gone. Now they have to be replenished. So now you understand the process. When you get to this point of exhaustion, you need to fuel it, you need to support it, because now the body needs support. That's why you add the CH3 into it. Explain the process to the people. Don't make a monkey out of people. Monkey see, monkey does. Teach them fishing, don't give them a fish. Spend 1 day explaining, the next day they know why they are not quoting, how they can not quote, and how they can change their understanding to see the problem they see. I see many problems with the workshops you have started. The first day of workshop should be no physical, practical teaching in a way of making macros or cores. Those who do it, you have to stop. If you do 2 days teaching or 1 day teaching with making macros or patches, spend the first half explaining the technology. Otherwise, you have wasted your time. Is another jewel ring in the drawer. When I need it, I pull it out. But if you teach them, the patch becomes the center of the food, understanding it, they add to it, they save their lives, they feed themselves. These workshops has become huge, what I call teaching centers, but you're teaching the wrong way. No workshop should be, if it's 2-day workshop, 3-day workshop, anything to do with making. It's your job to make everything prepared, ready. Then they can just run because they understood it. This is what we did in the conference. We spent the first day teaching the science, the knowledge. And for the fun, for them to know they're going to get the bait, they're going to get the knowledge, they're going to get the magrab or whatever. As I said to them, when you go to the church, they pass a little bucket and everybody puts some money in it. And I said, in the Church of Knowledge of the Keshe Foundation, we give you a bucket, take something out of it. You don't need to put something in it. And we gave everyone a nano-coated coil made by Benjamin. They could put their hand in the bucket and take nano-coating with them. Now they could feel it. It had reality. It wasn't just talk. Simply, we explained what you can do with this and how you can feed yourself with this little coil. And because there were scientists that could understand the nanotechnology, they could understand the nexus of separation, I explained to them very simply. And that is, the fear of knowledge at the moment with the plasma is, what is it? The knowledge now divides in two directions. Or I better do it this way to start with. The knowledge now divides in two ways. As we stand now in this matter state, we have a matter as a solid. We have a matter as liquid. We have a matter as gas. This is matter state. On the other side, we use the same solid to create nano. We create plasma, and we create fields. If you see, the common ground is a solid state of matter, and how you play in the interaction between these three and these three, you can go here, somewhere put a vapor too or whatever. But now you understand, and how you have to make it clear for people to understand which side of the fence they want to play. Your secret is this chap, your solid. If you play it, you can go through the path of plasma. If you play this way, you go through the path of matter. Explain this to your people. Explain this to your teachers, to your students, whatever you want to call it. Then you see the knowledge is becoming very clear for them and for you, and there is no mystery. Because somewhere everything is interchangeable. And even you can go and exchange in different directions. So this is the theory of conversion of energy into matter. People understand. Any scientist at any level would understand, even a common man. Then you don't have this thing called plasma, that fraud and rest. And it shows that frauds were actually frauds. A guy told me very recently, we have to make two groups. I said, no, we make one group, understanding of the totality. This is how it should be. Because when you teach and they see, because they've seen the liquid, they've seen the gas, you give them the nanomaterial, but you say inside it is a copper solid. You already feel, touch. When you talk about the gas, you explain it's the nanomaterial which is separated now as you call it plasma. And then you say, if the plasma, liquid plasma, has created this by the fields. There is a video we showed yesterday, I don't know if Rick can find it, is the video where the fields come and they start making a mass. They interact suddenly. It was made a couple, 2 or 3 years ago by someone. That's the true explanation of it. The guy who made it understood the knowledge. So when you teach, this is important. I listened to the ladies speaking today and people who are making the course, and we've seen different application of it. If you understood, the teaching is done. Now you're becoming the teachers. But as teachers, you have to be able to explain in a term that everybody can understand. If Einstein could understand this, he would have never written E is equal to mc squared. Because there are many factors involved in there that light has nothing to do with. And all assumptions, ignore them. Now you don't make any assumptions. Everything is considered.
Mr. Kesh, I can put that video on if you want, the plasma animation.
Start sharing, yes, and then come back to this again, please.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want me to stop sharing, or?
I think I can override you there. So just a second there.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, please. Now this makes sense because we've seen the introduction of the fields from Austria. You made copper and zinc and nickel. When the two equal in the strength gravitational magnetic field entity come across each other in the space of the universe, they interact because gravitation of one pulls the magnetic of the other and magnetic of the other one pulls, and look what happens. Now, this was done 2 years ago, and we see the lady sitting in one. Now you see why that system feels good. This is the beauty of the knowledge. Because it's been correct from the foundation and fundamentally from the beginning, now you see it makes sense. Fields, they become energy and interaction. They become matter, existence, the plasma, and what you want. That's what I said. Thank you to all of you, because everything has been there, is there, and is done by you to make these things so easy when we wanted to go back on it to understand the explanation so easily. As I said, it's the family of the Keshe Foundation which has brought the whole knowledge to mankind. And I have a very bad news for you. The job has just started. Once you finish with the man, you have to start the problem with the birds, the trees, the fish, and everything else.
Mr. Kesh, I'll just mention that actually several of us worked on that video, probably up to 12 people, to input their ideas on how we could conceive of what these fields could look like. And eventually it was put together, of course, by the animation artist who had to take those ideas and actually create the animation. But it wasn't just one person, but an exercise in working with each other to try to come up with this concept, because we started out with the black void basically, and where do we go from there? And it was a good exercise to bring people together to do that.
That's fantastic. I remember this a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It just makes sense now that we understand how you come from plasma to matter to fields and back to plasma and the matter itself, and how the beginning starts. When we showed this yesterday in the teaching, Stanley put it up, you could see a couple of nuclear physicists there. They were shaking their head. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's so simple, it's hard to deny. It's a visual, simple, there's no formulas, there's nothing else you have to know other than the interactions. And it really makes sense on so many levels. If you look at just the attraction between two humans, whether they're male, female, or other relationships, that attraction is like those two fields we see in the beginning, the magnetic rays. And if you're going through life as a magnetic ray, you're kind of looking for another magnetic ray that you can interact with. And that interaction is so important in life. If we didn't have the interaction with others, whatever interaction that is, then we wouldn't have that, it wouldn't develop into that plasma, that energy, that life experience, and so on. So this video, I think it's so principle, it's so prime, so close to the source, that it reflects on many different levels, many different ways you can look at it. Every time I see this video, I actually see different meanings in it. So it's
we have a few of them in the background.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few videos like this, especially with the cores and the coils and the rest of it.
Okay, do you want to go back to your sharing now?
Yeah, you got to share me because I can't do anything.
Okay, I'll stop the share and you should be able to go ahead now.
Do I still get my screen back, or do I have to redo?
I think you have to reselect it there.
There we are, basically. I think this picture we have on the table has to become one of the principal, what do you call it, pictures in our teaching, now that we go further in the knowledge. Because this is a fundamental between two different states of the existence. In this part, you are literally part of universal life. In this part, you're part of the matter planetary life.
It's not in full view. We can't see all of it. Could you adjust the screen?
Who, me?
Whoever, Rick, because it's cut off from us being able to see the whole picture of everything that you drew.
I'm seeing the whole picture. Does anybody else have a problem with the picture?
Is live stream adjusted?
I'm on the Zoom and it's like it's all cut off. It's at the,
Let me see.
This for yours. Jay mentions click fit to screen in Zoom at the top of the page. Now, I think it's fine as far as this looks fine for me. It's good for you too, Vince, right?
yeah, that fixed it. Thank you.
It's fine on this side right now. It was switched before.
So you
Okay.
see, if you understand this definition, a lot of enigmas in the world of science regarding the matter and plasma, and what we do, what is the matter, what the plasma is wrong. And if you look at it, it's exactly the same. The more liberation from fields, from close interaction. When you're a solid, you heat it up, you become more free, you become liquid. If you add more energy into it, you become gas. You become much more free. It's the same this way. The nano comes from more spacing, freedom of fields. When you go to a plasma, you're more free to interact compared to the nano. And then when you release the fields, fields have a total freedom to go where they like according to their energy. So you see the two match the same. And if you go back to the video which we used to play, that I said the beauty of this science is that you can use the matter to manipulate the plasma. And that the beauty of it is that the nano, the solid, the nano, and the plasma are made of the same, that the strength is unbreakable. Now you see it. Now, in a very simple picture, it makes sense. This is where you finish with the opposition of the other scientists. It doesn't matter if they're expert in solid, in liquid, or gas, or now they have become nuclear, atomic, and the rest of it. Here you go to nano, to plasma, and the field. It's you who understand where you want to operate. This is what I said. The nuclear physicists were happy that there are nuclear physicists, plasma scientists now. They got their nuclear degree as a PhD from university, and they got now the plasma from Keshe Foundation Institute. So now we're going to produce another document. You're a professor in plasma nanotechnology, because nobody else has the direction or authority. Or we leave it to the job of man to understand himself, that he's added to his own knowledge, does not need a degree to show it.
Mr. Keshe, where would they fall? Where would the nuclear fall on that graph? On that,
the nuclear atomic is here, is part of the whole structure.
so it could be solid, liquid, gas. It's still, but it's nuclear is a subset of those, I guess.
Without the nuclear couldn't have. It runs the same way, but here is a plasmatic condition because it's all the same. Here you have different state of it. Here is one. Is the state of the spacing of freedom, gravitational magnetic field positioning according to the strength, even though they all pile on top of each other. Here you add into the same plasma. Here you have to add from other plasmas to create the spacing. This is the beauty and separation. And this is why now we understand when you work on this side, there is no speed limit. When you work on this side, there is a speed limit because you have to be able to pass from one into the other. And in moving through it, you have to put energy from another part to be able to go further in the other part. You have to add from one section to another or bring from one section to another to be able to achieve to travel in that condition. When we travel in the atmosphere using matter state, we have a barrier because we have to penetrate it, we have to be able to go through it. But when you go to the plasma, we go through the strength field. This is what in the explanation always say. Here, you do a speed of light. This is hydrogen. Here, as I said yesterday in the teaching, if it's a copper, hydrogen, you do the speed of light. Let's say now the speed of light for man is hydrogen. Here, the speed of light is the ultimate. You cannot go any further. Here, when you go to the strength of the copper, the speed of light is by the order of magnitude. That is equal times 60, which means 60 zeros, not times 60. I tell you. That's why if you understand and you can use and you can mimic the energy of the copper in the strength field of the plasma of the hydrogen, you can travel with the speed of copper 60 times by order of magnitude faster than hydrogen. From here to planet Zeus with hydrogen takes 1 year, or let's say 10 days, or let's say 60 days for ease of understanding. When you go to the same hydrogen into the inner strength of the plasma equal to copper, you're traveling 1 day. You save yourself 59. And if you go to plutonium, you see how faster you get there, minutes, hours, because it's order of magnitude, if you understand it that way. But if you look, this is your understanding, then in fact, if you travel with the speed of light at hydrogen at 1, and then you go to copper, the truth is you had the 60 days. Now you divide it by 60 zeros. Then you find in how many milliseconds you arrive. It's the order of magnitude. Is absolutely, totally order of magnitude in the plasma side. On the other side, you have to work with times. Here you work. Now, you have to understand how you create a plasma in face of the other plasma that you can play with the order of magnitudes in magnetical and gravitational. Then you have the freedom of space. And this is part of the teaching that I will come to. How to strip magnetical and how to bring in gravitation. You have partially seen it. Harman says all the time, you have a lot of patience. I have the patience of the universe. But if you don't understand it, it becomes a monkey job. If you understand it, like the core, which the guy now, the 1010 does not rely on 90 or 81 or 144, you get a better results and better effects. Because the whole structure has become monkey see, monkey does. But if you understand it, the guy understood. He has enlightened himself to the knowledge. He's made 1010 poem. And the feeling is totally different. Now you have, by order of magnitude, from 90 to 1000. That's why you feel so strong. That's why you can cover. I'll give you a tip, and hopefully the gentleman who made this understand it. This is more or less, if you understood, becomes the mono system for flight, where when you sit inside it, if you understand it, your emotion controls the direction of where you want to take your body and how you want to increase the shield or decrease the shield, but the minimum is what you have created with the frame. Maybe that's why we had to wait for Kerry to go around America to bring this thing to be shown. This is how you will create your first monocycles. Maybe you sit your child behind you too, like a cycles, but now you don't pedal, but you enter the phase of the atmospheric condition. But you don't need a control system, because if you design the right way, where the center of your emotion and the soul sits, if it fits in the right way in the system, in the center of it, you decide the movement and the strength of it. I feel safe. I don't need a huge shielding. Maybe it's like the bicycles. Now you start seeing the first mobile units, but it needs a little bit of more developing, because it's been made beautifully, but you have to understand that if you centralize the point of the fields, does not necessarily mean to be in the center of the system. You got to understand that too. You can control the lift, the position as you desire. We've seen for the first time an outline for the future transportation units. Any questions?
Mr. Cash, I had a question.
Who are you? Where are you from, please?
This is Stephen from California.
Yes, Stephen.
I had a question about the nitrogen, as you referred to it as the divider, and the extreme ultraviolet, how that plays into the mechanism that we're looking at on screen.
You are mixing between field and ray. You have to understand. When we speak nitrogen in plasmatic, we're talking about its fields. When you speak about ultra, you're speaking about the ray of a given string. Do you understand?
I see the difference now. I see the difference now.
In the matter state, nitrogen becomes a divider. In the what do you call, in the plasma gas state, in the amino acid, the nitrogen is part of the backbone and structure of holding everything together. That's why, if you look, I would mention this many times in the teaching, you always have the tree. You see carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, going 22, going number 38 and 39, 40, go back to 56, 54, 58, 60, go further up with others. You needed to have the spectrum. It's the spectrum. It's not that you have 3 metals. You need the extreme spectrum. What it means is when you have the nitrogen and the oxygen and the carbon, is the maximum of the 2 and the minimum of the 2, which gives you the field plane. Because if you have 1, it's not enough. And the center fields is where they bounce off. So when you speak about matter state, we don't have ultraviolet in plasma. It's a matter state, so you have to understand which one. But plasma releases some of its field that to you is ultraviolet. You understand?
I'm trying to. Thank you.
It's very simple. It's extremely simple. What you have to understand: what pulls on gravitational magnetic pole. One of the reasons we find stable elements in matter state, if you look at the stable elements and when elements become stable, is this principle, because the spectrum of the isotopes is large enough that in respect to the others, they create enough shift of fields that they don't need something else. Can you store this? Can you take a picture of this? I'm going to get rid of it.
Okay, I've got it.
You got it, okay. What I'm trying to explain for you to understand is, let's say, can you pick up any elements which are stable and look at their spectrum? Let's say you start with iron, which starts actually around about 44 and somewhere around 70, 72. This is isotopes of true isotopes of iron in the gravitational magnetic field spectrum. Then, when you pick up an iron in your hand and you say it's 56, this is to you because you can explain it as iron. But in fact, it starts from here to here. And what we call the stable isotopes is the ones which adds up. That's why you find stability in different rates of decay. So now with the same material, with the next one is here. The more you come to the center, the longer life you get in the atomic life to its decay. Because it's intenser, the fields are more closer to each other. When you go to the point when the isotope field change is very much like this, that's where you get a rapid decay. And as I say, the world of nuclear has never understood this. Why? Why you get half-lives of 3 micro or half-lives of few thousands of years or hundreds of years. It's depend on which isotope in that compound of molecules are in the mixture, in the spectrum of the gravitational magnetic field strength, not in the matter state. Because even in that environment, let's say iron 72, for example, it's very heavy on one gravitational, but easy on the magnetic. So half-life becomes less. When you get such a huge deviation, and then it explains why you get beta in some and alpha in some, if you understand this. Why do we get gamma radiation release? Because you see how close you sit and how far you sit on what energy in respect from the spectrum of the isotopes gravitational magnetic field forces. The problem is what we've seen in agriculture. In agriculture, we've done the field trials. And they used to give gas water to this one and put other seed of the same next to it and give it water and say, look, the difference is not much because you look at it as a matter state, but field interaction covers both. That's why you have. If you would have taken your test samples and sampled it here, this gives you 1 kilo, this gives you 2 kilo, this gives you 3 kilo. Here, 2 and 3 is much, they're near, but 3 and 1 is a big difference. It's the same in the spectrum. When you consider elements in the nuclear atomic structure half-life, you have to see when you isolated it, what is around it? How far is around it? How is it connected to the elements you extracted from? And that's what the scientists don't understand. And now maybe with the plasma technology, we unravel a lot of the mysteries why we have a half-life. How it comes, the position of the electron in one bandwidth to the other releases so much energy. Does the energy come actually from the electron, or does it come from the center, which does release it to allow the positioning in the new orbit? Man needs a lot to learn now that we open the science of plasma. It puts a lot of knowledge in the matter state in order. A lot of fallacies get solved and we find the right answer. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Cash. It's Pablo.
You can take a picture of this as well, because this is important in the future. Atomic nuclear physicists and the plasma physicists understand this very quickly. Carry on, please.
Hello, it's Pablo speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, from where, Paolo?
I'm in the UK.
Yes, Paolo. How are you? You're a Polish Paolo living in UK, but you work with the Polish. Am I correct?
Absolutely, Mr. Cash. I just want to present something, if I can, very shortly. It's in terms of my wife's tumor.
Can you allow it, please, Rick?
Okay, so before I'm gonna be.
You got to wait till Rick sorts out the sharing in the background.
Okay.
Now you can share. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm just sharing the screen. Sorry about that. That's actually the box which one I built in September, and I've done it, accordingly to one of your Mr. Cash teachings when you explain everything about the box and the way of the guns in it and all that.
This
And
is in
actually-
the garage hanging from the ceiling, am I correct?
Sorry?
Is this in the garage or in the loft hanging from the ceiling?
No, it's on the frame. If you can see, there is a frame in here, but it's in the
Can
garage.
you open this picture that we can see it? Is there any way you can open it up, make it larger?
Not really, to be honest, but I can send it to someone. If,
Okay, no problem. Please do so.
you want me to do that?
Carry on, carry on.
Right. So basically, when I was building that device, I understood that I'm building like a copy of the human body from a copper, and that gives me a lot to think about this. And then in August, so before I finished my device, my wife, she had diagnosed that she had a 5.5 centimeter tumor on one of her organs. I'm not gonna, say the organ because that's quite private. But when we took the sessions, when my wife took the sessions in the device, after third session, she started bleeding. And that was a very dark, blood coming out of her. And then I understood that actually she was starting to get rid of some kind of, I don't know, residue, however we can call it. And then after fourth session, we decide we're gonna go to Poland to the same doctor, to the same, appliance to do the second tests. And when she get the test done, she was absolutely clear. There was no tumor at all. And then we've done the confirmation of that, like a second test. And those second tests we've done in the UK, which one confirmed the correctness of